is about Portugal. It's going to be moderately hard, but you don't have to answer. You can just, bathe in the information, and hopefully it's going to make you sleep. So, Portugal's capital sits at the mouth of which river? Portugal's capital sits at the mouth of which river? And it's Tagus or Tejo. Tagus, Tejo. Lisbon developed as a major port where the Tejo widens into an estuary before meeting the Atlantic. Which treaty? 1297 is the year of the treaty, is often cited for fixing Portugal's borders close to what they are today. So which treaty is often cited for fixing Portugal's borders close to what they are today? And it is Treaty of Alcanisas. Treaty of Alcanisas. It helped settle frontier disputes with Castile and is key milestone behind Portugal's unusually stable borders. Cool. The Portuguese Age of Discoveries took off strongly after the capture of which North African city in 1415. So the Portuguese Age of Discoveries took off strongly after the capture of which North African city in 1415. And it was Ceuta. Taking Ceuta gave Portugal a strategic foothold and momentum for Atlantic and African expansion. Number 4. Who was the first European to reach India by sea in 1498 via the Cape of Good Hope route? Very important moment in history. Who was the first European to reach India by sea in 1498 via the Cape of Good Hope route? It was Vasco da Gama. Vasco da Gama, his voyage linked Europe to Indian Ocean trade by an all-sea route, changing global commerce. It was before the Suez. Yeah. What 1755 event devastated Lisbon and influenced early thinking about disasters and urban planning? So what 1755 event devastated Lisbon and influenced early thinking about disasters and urban planning? So it was some kind of disaster. And it was 1755 Lisbon earthquake. The quake, fires and tsunami destroyed large parts of the city and triggered major rebuilding reforms. What is the Portuguese architectural style full of maritime symbols tied to King Manuel I? So, what is the Portuguese architectural style full of maritime symbols tied to King Manuel I? And it's Manueline style. It's a late Gothic style with ropes, armillary spheres, and sea motifs reflecting Portugal's seafaring peak. If you like this video, subscribe, and like before you fall asleep. Write me down in the comments what's your favorite building style. Gothic, Barocco, Roman, modern, brutalism. Maybe you're a brutalism fan. Anyway, let's continue. Which Lisbon monastery is a flagship Manueline monument and UNESCO site? Which Lisbon monastery is a flagship Manueline monument and UNESCO site? And it's called Hieronymus Monastery. Hieronymus Monastery. Built with wealth from overseas trade, it became a symbol of Portugal's imperial era ambition. What is the name of Portugal's melancholic urban song tradition, often performed with Portuguese guitar? What is the name of Portugal's melancholic urban song tradition, often performed with Portuguese guitar? And it's called fado. Fado. It's strongly associated with the Lisbon neighborhoods and themes of longing, fate, and heartbreak. Ideal for me. Next one. Which hard to translate Portuguese word captures deep longing and nostalgia? Which hard to translate Portuguese word captures deep longing and nostalgia? And it's saudade. It's a cultural concept as much as a word used for missing people, places, or eras. Number 10. What is Portugal's best known custard tart called? What is Portugal's best known custard tart called? And it's pastel de nata. Pastel de nata. It's the iconic flaky tart with baked custard, closely associated with Lisbon or Belém traditions. Pastel de nata. Next one. Which river valley region is famous for terraced vineyards that produce port wine? Which river valley region is famous for terraced vineyards that produce port wine? And it's Douro Valley. It's called Douro. Douro, not Douro. Douro Valley. Steep terraces along the Douro define the landscape and support one of the world's classic wine regions. Port wine is historically shipped from which city at the Douro's mouth? Port wine is historically shipped from which city at the Douro's mouth? And the city is Porto. Easy, Porto. The wine's name comes from the city and its trading role, especially through riverside lodges nearby. What's the green wine style from northern Portugal, not literally green, called? What's the green wine style from northern Portugal, not literally green, called? And it's called vinho verde. Vinho verde. Vino, like vino. In Czechia we say vino. Wine is vino, so it's vino verde. Explanation: green refers to youth and freshness. It's often light, bright, and sometimes slightly fizzy. Which Portuguese archipelago is known for volcanic landscapes and mid-Atlantic location? Which Portuguese archipelago is known for volcanic landscapes and mid-Atlantic location? And it's the Azores. The Azores. I would love to visit the Azores. Maybe once the channel, like, that's never going to happen. But once we will do vlog from the Azores. The islands sit on near tectonic boundaries and are famous for crater lakes, hot springs, and whale watching. Whale watching. I think about the joke, but I'm not going to make it. What is the highest mountain in Portugal, located on Azorian Island? What is the highest mountain in Portugal, located on Azorian Island? And it's Mount Pico. Pico. Like, if you say Pico in Czech, it means like meth. So Mount Pico. And if you add like hijack to the, it means the most vulgar word, meaning like vulva. So it's a volcanic peak on Pico Island and the country's top elevation. Which Portuguese region is known for whitewashed towns, sea cliffs, and beaches like Lagos? Which Portuguese region is known for whitewashed towns, sea cliffs, and beaches like Lagos? And it's the Algarve. The Algarve. It's Portugal's southern coastal hotspot with dramatic rock formations and historic fishing towns. Which inland city is famous for its Roman temple and the bone chapel? Capella dos Ossos. Which inland city is famous for its Roman temple and the bone chapel? Capella dos Ossos. Am I saying it right? Let me know in the comments. And it's Évora. Évora preserves layers of Roman, medieval, and later history with striking monuments packed into a small center. Évora. Which town near Lisbon is famous for Romantic era palaces and hilltop estates? Which town near Lisbon is famous for Romantic era palaces and hilltop estates? And it's Sintra. Its cool microclimate and lush hills make it a royal getaway, now packed with palaces and gardens. What 1974 event ended the dictatorship and began Portugal's modern democratic era in 1974? Oh, okay, I'm learning something too. I thought it was like 45. Okay, 1974. And it's called the Carnation Revolution. Yeah, the Carnation Revolution. A largely non-violent military-led uprising became a symbol of peaceful transition. Carnations in rifle barrels. Which Portuguese novelist won the 1998 Nobel Prize in Literature? Which Portuguese novelist won the 1998 Nobel Prize in Literature? It was José Saramago or José José Saramago. He is known for distinctive long sentences and philosophical storytelling, becoming Portugal's most famous modern literary figure. Sorry for the Czech accent. So we have first block. Next. Which navigational instrument appears as a big symbol on Portugal's flag? Everybody knows that. Behind the shield. But how is it called now? You are going to learn something new. It's called armillary sphere. Armillary sphere. Armillary sphere. It's classic maritime astronomy tool and direct nod to Portugal's seafaring empire era. I'm going to play Portugal in EU5. I'm going to do it. That must be fun. I will try. What is the westernmost point of mainland Europe called in Portugal? Most western point of Europe, yeah. What is it called? And it's called Capo da Rocca. Capo da Rocca. It's famous cliff lookout west of Lisbon, often marketed as where the land ends. Capo da Rocca. Which autonomous Portuguese archipelago has its capital at Funchal? Which autonomous Portuguese archipelago has its capital at Funchal? And it's Madeira. Madeira is an Atlantic island group with its own regional government and a major tourism identity. Which university, founded in 1290, is one of Europe's oldest and a major Portuguese cultural symbol? So which university, founded in 1290, is one of Europe's oldest and a major Portuguese cultural symbol? And it's University of Coimbra. Coimbra University. That's known. It shaped Portuguese elites for centuries and is known for unique student traditions and architecture. What are the painted ceramic tiles? What are the painted ceramic tiles that cover many Portuguese buildings called? It's a game. I wanted to buy that we would play it on the channel. And it's called azulejos. These tiles are a signature of Portuguese streetscapes used decoratively and to protect walls. Very pretty, very pretty. What is the name of Portugal's national parliament? What is the name of Portugal's national parliament? And it's called Assembleia da República. Assembleia da República. It's the legislative body that passes laws and forms governments in Portugal's parliamentary system. Number 27. What is the 12-string instrument strongly linked to traditional fado performances? What is the 12-string instrument strongly linked to traditional fado performances? And it's called guitarra portuguesa. Guitarra portuguesa, 12-string guitar. Its bright ringing tone is one of the sounds people instantly associate with classic fado. Yeah, what they play on the busking. It's not basking. I wanted to buy Spanish guitar, and I would like Portuguese guitar too, but Spanish guitar, I almost got it from Spain, but it was too expensive for me at the time. You can become a member and buy me a Spanish guitar. Or you can buy me a Spanish guitar, that would be nice. What is the highest point on mainland Portugal? What is the highest point on mainland Portugal? And it's called Torre, or Serra de Estrela. That's maybe more known. Serra de Estrela, Torre. It's the top of Portugal's highest mainland mountain range, which also gets winter snow. Nice. We had snow like one day. Which small medieval walled town is famous for its castle walls and tourism, often visited as a day trip from Lisbon? Which small medieval walled town is famous for its castle walls and tourism, often visited as a day trip from Lisbon? And it's Óbidos. It's known for a perfectly preserved old town vibe and heavy storybook medieval aesthetics. As a Czech, I love the medieval aesthetics. What is the famous Portuguese sour cherry liqueur? Something for you, my fellow alcoholics. No, I don't drink. I'm Czech. I'm the national tragedy. Czech abstinent, often served in small cups, called. So, what is the famous Portuguese sour jelly liqueur, often served in small cups, called? And it's called Ginginha, Ginginha, something like Slivovica in Czech. Ginginha, Ginjinha, Ginjinha, I think. It's a classic local shot, especially around Lisbon, made by infusing sour cherries in alcohol and sugar. That's gin. Is it gin? Ginjinha, yeah. What sweet fortified wine, from Setúbal area, is famous for muscat grapes. From Setúbal, muscat grapes from Setúbal, and it's Moscatel de Setúbal. Yes, they sell it in Czechia too. Moscatel. It's like a type of wine. I'm always confused. What should I buy? And nowadays I just search it on internet. What's the most popular? If I'm forced to buy somebody wine, it's an aromatic desert-style wine with a long aging tradition and strong regional identity. In what year did Portugal join the European Economic Community, later the EU? In what year did Portugal join the EU? And it was in 1986. Membership accelerated modernization, infrastructure investment, and deeper economic integration. Which Portuguese currency was replaced by the euro? Which Portuguese currency was replaced by the euro? And it was escudo. They had escudo before. The escudo was Portugal's money for most of the 20th century before the euro changeover. What 1494 treaty divided newly claimed overseas lands between Portugal and Spain? Yeah, there was like, they just draw a line in the world and they say this is Portugal's, this is Spain's. So what 1494 treaty was that? It was Treaty of Tordesillas. Treaty of Tordesillas. It drew an imaginary line to avoid conflict. One reason Brazil ended up Portuguese speaking. You know, this is how it's done. This I was done. Which Portuguese-born explorer expedition achieved the first circumnavigation? Thought he died en route, though he died. Yeah, he died on the road of the circumnavigation, but he did, and it was Ferdinand Magellan. Fernão de Magalhães. Magellan, that's known. Fernando Ferdinand Magellan. His voyage proved global ocean connections in practice, even if he didn't personally finish it. He basically proved the world is round. Somebody still doesn't believe that today. Some of Agartans maybe don't believe that. What was the name of Portugal's 20th century authoritarian regime from 1933 to 1974? Yeah, it was 1974. From 1933 to 1974. I thought it ended after. Interesting. I'm learning. And it was Estado Novo. I don't remember all the questions, so it was a corporatist dictatorship that controlled politics, media, and public life for decades, and the democracy always wins. What was the name of the dictatorship era secret police known for surveillance and repression? It was called PIDE. It became notorious for monitoring dissents and maintaining regime control. Nice, not nice, but which Lisbon Bridge is named after the date of Portugal's 1974 revolution? Which bridge is named after that 1974 revolution? And it's Ponte 25 de Abril. Ponte 25 de Abril. Name ties the bridge to the democratic transition and is one of Lisbon's most iconic landmarks. Number 39. What is the name of the hearty Portuguese sandwich drenched in sauce? Originally from Porto. With the sauce. Is it coated? It's coated with the sauce. So it's drenched in sauce. It's a sandwich. And it's called Francesina. It's stacked with meats and cheese. Then covered with a spicy beer-based sauce. Pure food challenge energy. I would do it. I can't because it probably has like billion calories, but I would starve all day just to eat that. What is the name of the vast Lisbon riverfront district redeveloped for Expo 98? Home to the Oceanarium. And it's called Parque de Nachos. Parque das Nachos. Expo 98 reshaped this area into modern waterfront zone with major attractions and transit links. Which riverside fortress in Lisbon, a UNESCO site, became an icon of Portugal's maritime era? Which riverside fortress in Lisbon became icon of Portugal's maritime era? It was Belém Tower, Torre de Belém. It guarded the Tagus approach and became a symbol of departures, returns during overseas expansions. The UNESCO listed Convent of Christ, tied to the Templars, and later the the Order of Christ is in which town? The UNESCO-listed Convent of Christ tied to the Templars and later to the Order of Christ is in which town? And it's in town called Tomara. It preserves rare Templar Order of Christ architecture and is key secret history site in Portugal. Which Algarve Sea came in famous for its natural skylight dome and boat/kayak visits? Which Algarve Sea cave is famous for its natural skylight dome and boat/kayak visits? And it's called Benagil Cave, Algarve Benagil. It's one of Europe's most photographed coastal caves because sunlight pours in through the roof opening. Who led Lisbon's major reconstruction after 1755 and gave his name to Bombaline reports? That's easy, that's already answered. So who gave name to Bombaline reforms and was Marquis of Pombal. He pushed modern urban planning, stronger building standards and more centralized state. Lisbon's rebuilt grid-like downtown district from that reconstruction is commonly called what? Lisbon's rebuilt grid-like downtown district from that reconstruction is commonly, okay, called what? And it's called Baixa Pompalina. It's designed with broad streets and early anti-earthquake, because the earthquake, you have to build it anti-earthquake. Engineering ideas replacing medieval street chaos. Yeah, in medieval era they just did what they wanted. Like if we had rules like that, everybody would have a home. I would just build a home like in the middle of highway. No, okay, that wouldn't be too safe, but what is the longest river that flows entirely within Portugal, not crossing from Spain? What is the longest river that flows entirely within Portugal, not crossing from Spain? And it's called Mondego River. It runs from Central Highlands to the Atlantic and is strongly linked to the Coimbra region. Which Lisbon club is famously nicknamed Os Leões, the Lions? Which Lisbon club is famously nicknamed Os Leões, the Lions? And it's Sporting CP. The lion is central to Sporting's identity, imagery, and fun culture. Sports and me is not going well together, like sports knowledge. I like to sport, but sports knowledge. Portugal won the UEFA European Championship for the first time in which year? Somebody knows that? UEFA. I'm not even sure what UEFA is. I'm sorry about that. And it was in 2016. The victory is a modern national sports landmark, especially after years of near misses. Which Portuguese artist won Eurovision 2017 with Amar pelos Dios? Don't know. And it was Salvador Sobral. His understated performance and song stood out sharply easy. Which former Portuguese territory was handed over to China in 1999, and it was Macau. Macau was Portuguese. It marked the end of Portugal's long imperial era presence in East Asia. What is the name of Portugal's only and first national park? Only national park. And it's Peneda Gerês National Park. Peneda Gerês. It's known for granite, mountains, traditional villages, and some of Portugal's wildest landscapes. The world famous giant wave surfing spot is in which Portuguese town? The world famous giant wave surfing spot is in which Portuguese town? And it's in Nazaré. An underwater canyon amplifies Atlantic swells, creating waves that can reach record sizes. We are at 53, we have 47 to go. We are halfway there. What is the name of the major megalithic stone circle complex near Évora, often compared to Stonehenge? And it's called Cromelec dos Almendres. Cromelec dos Almendres. It's one of Iberia's most significant prehistoric monument sites. Cromelec dos Almendres. Interesting. What is the Portuguese name for the salted cod that shows up in countless traditional dishes? Salted cod. Portuguese name. It's called bacalhau. Cod isn't native to Portugal's waters in huge quantities. Its importance comes from preservation and trade. What is the folk symbol ceramic rooster? Cock. Associated with a famous legend called. What is the folk symbol ceramic rooster associated with a famous legend called? And it's called Gallo de Barcelos. Gallo de Barcelos. It became a national good luck icon and a widely recognized Portuguese souvenir symbol. The massive Alentejo Reservoir, created by Portugal's biggest dam, is called what? The massive Alentejo Reservoir, created by Portugal's biggest dam, is called what? And it's called Alcueva Reservoir, Lake Alcueva. It transformed the region's water storage and irrigation and is also used for tourism and stargazing. I would love to go stargaze with somebody. I always go alone. It's sad. Which northern city is famous for the Bom Jesus do Monte, a sanctuary and its monumentary starway? Which northern city is famous for Bom Jesus, not Bom Jesus do Monte? Maybe it's Jesus do Monte sanctuary and its monumental starway, and it's called Braga. The zigzag Baroque staircase is one of Portugal's most distinctive religious architecture sites. 58. Which Portuguese coastal city is known for canals, Art Nouveau buildings, and colorful Moliceiro boats? So, which Portuguese coastal city is known for canals, Art Nouveau buildings, and colorful Moliceiro boats? And it's called Aveiro. Aveiro. It's often nicknamed the Venice of Portugal. A bit marketing heavy, but the canals are real. What is the name of the light maneuverable ship type that became a symbol of early Portuguese exploration? If you play any strategy game, you know that. And it's called Caravella. Its design handled Atlantic winds well, making long coastal exploration more practical. What is the traditional Portuguese sourdough-style bread roll used for the famous pork sandwich called? What is the traditional Portuguese sourdough-style bread roll used for the famous pork sandwich called? And it's called papo seco. Its typical roll for bifana, a simple, iconic street food staple. Lisbon's most famous old-school yellow tram line, a tourist magnet, is which number? Lisbon's most famous old-school yellow tram line, a tourist magnet, is which number? And it's number 28E. 28E. That's a good, like, do you want to be a millionaire question? It rattles through historic neighborhoods like Grazia and Alfama, basically a moving postcard. Which poet is the face of modern Portuguese literature and famous for writings under multiple heteronyms? Which poet is the face of modern Portuguese literature under many heteronyms? And his name is Fernando Pessoa. He created distinct writer personas with different styles and philosophies, not just pen names. Yeah, I know that one. Did he want something? But I know that one. Which Lisbon cafe is strongly associated with Pessoa and even has a statue outside? It's called a Brasileira cafe with Pessoa's statue outside. It's a classic meeting spot in Chiado and part of Lisbon's literary city identity. What's the Portuguese term for gold leaf baroque wood carving that fills many church interiors? What's the Portuguese term for gold leaf baroque wood carvings? And it's called talha dourada. Interesting. It's that dazzling gilded carving you see covering altars and walls. Very Portuguese. What is the name of Porto's ornate historic bookstore, often listed among the world's most beautiful historic bookstore in Porto? And it's called Livraria Lello. Livraria Lello. It's famous for its carved wood, stained glass, and staircase that looks like it belongs in a fantasy film. Which 1386 treaty is often called the oldest continuously active alliance in the world? Portugal plus England. What alliance is 1386? And it's Treaty of Windsor. Treaty of Windsor. It formalized a long-running partnership that still shows up historically in diplomacy and warfare, maybe too. Which Portuguese explorer rounded the Cape of Good Hope in 1488, proving the Atlantic-Indian Ocean link was possible. Which Portuguese explorer rounded the Cape of Good Hope in 1488? And it was Bartolomeu Diaz. This was the door unlocked moment before the India Sea route became reality. It must have been like, it's insane. Like, you just go into the sea and you just go around the coast for so long and you don't know where you're at, and then you have to go back. It always took like year maybe. Which Portuguese navigator reached Brazil in 1500, claiming it for Portugal? Which Portuguese navigator reached Brazil in 1500, claiming it for Portugal? And it was Pedro Alvares Cabral. Alvares Cabral. His fleet was heading toward India, but the Atlantic route and winds pushed him west, so they went India, and everybody wanted to go India and ended up in the New World. Funny little accidents. What is the name of the giant Christ statue overlooking Lisbon from South Bank? What is the name of the giant Christ statue overlooking Lisbon from South Bank? And it's called Cristo Rei. It's often compared to Rio's Christ, the Redeemer, and gives one of the best panoramic views of Lisbon. Number 70. What is the name of the riverside monument in Belém, shaped like a ship's prow, honoring Portuguese explorers? What is the name of ship's prow honoring Portuguese explorers? And it's called Patrão dos Descomprimentos. Patrão dos Descomprimentos. It's basically a stone roll call of the age of discoveries in monument form. Which 1385 battle is a national legend for securing Portuguese independence against Castile? 1385 battle, national legend for securing Portuguese independence against Castile, and it's Battle of Aljubarrota. Battle of Aljubarrota. Explaining it locked in Portuguese sovereignty and launched a key dynasty that shaped later expansion. What's the popular Portuguese grilled chicken dish associated with jelly heat called? Popular Portuguese grilled chicken dish, and it's called frango piripiri. Frango piripiri. Frango piripiri. Frango piripiri. That's nice. Simple idea, addictive result. Grilled chicken with a spicy pepper sauce that Portugal helped globalize. Which Portuguese soup made with kale, collards, and often Corico is classic comfort food. Portuguese soup with kale and churico. It's classic comfort food. It's caldo verde, like Capo Verde, but caldo verde. It's one of those every Portuguese family has a version dishes, simple, salty, satisfying. Portugal's best known soft sheep milk cheese from the highest mainland mountains is called what? What's called the Portugal's milk cheese, sheep milk cheese? Queijo, Queijo, Queijo da Serra da Estrela. Queijo da Serra da Estrela It's creamy, rich, and strongly tied to cold mountain regions and traditional shepherding. Which large southern region is known for cork landscapes, whitewashed towns, and powerful red vines? Which large southern region is known for cork landscapes, whitewashed towns, and powerful red vines? And it's called Alentejo. 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 It's the big sky, slow life side of Portugal and a major wine and cork powerhouse. Which Gothic monastery complex, UNESCO listed, was built to commemorate Aljubarrota. I know it's J's. I like Aljubarrota. It's called Batalha Monastery. Batalha Monastery. It's a national monument level. Detailed stonework, royal tombs, and major historical symbolism. Which royal house took power after Portugal restored independence from Spain in 1640? And it was in 1640 independence from Spain, and it was House of Braganza. House of Braganza. The restoration ended the Iberian Union, and the Braganzas became central to later Portuguese monarchy history. Which natural park near Lisbon is known for limestone hills dropping toward beaches and clear water? Which natural park near Lisbon is known for limestone hills dropping toward beaches and clear water? And it's called Arrábida Natural Park. It's a quick escape from the city spot with dramatic scenery and a totally different vibe from Lisbon streets. The Portuguese pilgrimage route that leads to Santiago de Compostela is commonly called what? The Portuguese pilgrimage route that leads to Santiago de Compostela is called what? It's called Portuguese way. Camino Portuguese. Camino Portuguese. Yeah, Camino, El Camino. It's one of the main Camino routes with both coastal and inland variants through Portugal. Number 80. Last block. What is the largest city and main hub of São Miguel Island in the Azores? What is the largest city of São Miguel Island in the Azores? And it's called Ponta Delgada. Ponta Delgada. It's the getaway for most visitors, ailing sport, and the classic base for exploring crater lakes and hot springs. Which city is often called the birthplace of Portugal? Which city is often called the birthplace of Portugal? And it's called Guimarães. 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 It's closely tied to Portugal's early monarchy and national origin story. You'll hear Aqui nasceu Portugal. Guimarães. Guimarães. What is traditionally considered the first king of Portugal? First king of Portugal. And it's Alfonso the First, or Alfonso Henriques. That's the most Portuguese name I've ever heard. He led the early independence push and became the founding figure of the Portuguese kingdom. Which 1139 battle is traditionally linked to Alfonso Henriques being acclaimed king, even if details are debated. So, 1139, Alfonso Henriques wins something And what the battle is called? It's the Battle of Ourique. The event is central in Portuguese legend. Historians argue about what exactly happened, but the myth matters culturally. What huge palace monastery complex near Lisbon is famous for its basilica and massive library? Palace monastery near Lisbon. Basilica and massive monastery. Massive, you know what else is massive? Low they provide. And it's called Palacio Nacional de Mafra. Palacio Nacional de Mafra. Mafra Palace. Mafra Palace. Built with imperial era wealth, it's one of Portugal's grandest power statement buildings. Port wine aging lodges are mostly across the river from Porto. In which city? Port wine aging lodges are in which city? Vila Nova de Gaia. Vila Nova de Gaia. The lodges clustered there for shipping and storage conditions. The Porto skyline plus Gaia lodges view is iconic. Which river forms a significant stretch of Portugal's southeastern border with Spain? Which river forms a significant stretch of Portugal's southeastern border with Spain? And it's called Guadiana. It acts as natural boundary before reaching the Atlantic near the Algarve region. Guadiana. What was the 1580 to 1640 period called when Portugal and Spain shared the same monarch? We already said that. 1580 to 1640, and it was called Iberian Union. Portugal kept some institutions, but foreign policy and conflicts dragged it into Spain's orbit until restoration in 1640. Mainland Portugal uses what standard time zone? What standard time zone? Same as the UK in winter. It's called wet. Moist, not wet. No, it's called wet. Western European time, UTC plus 0. So plus 0. Portugal switches to West UTC plus 1 in summer. The Azores run 1 hour behind mainland time. Which UNESCO site in Portugal is famous for open-air prehistoric rock engravings? Which UNESCO site in Portugal is famous for open-air prehistoric rock engravings? And it's called Coa Valley. Valle do Coa. Cola Valley. Coa Valley. Coa, not Cola, Coa. It's one of Europe's standout Paleolithic rock art areas. Outdoors, not hidden in caves. What is the name of Lisbon's famous iron Eiffel Tower style vertical street elevator? Eiffel Tower styles vertical street elevator in Lisbon, and it's called Santa Justa lift. Santa Justa lift elevator de Santa Justa. It's Justa. Elevator de Santa Justa. Explanation: it's Gothic industrial landmark connecting lower streets to higher viewpoints in central Lisbon. What's the name of the hinged copper pot and dish style used for Algarve seafood stews? What's the name of the hinged copper pot and dish style used for Algarve seafood stews? And it's called cataplana. Cataplana explanation: the pot seals in steam and flavor. It's signature seafood plus aromatics presentation. Which Aveiro sweet is made from egg yolks and sugar, often wrapped in wafer-thin shells. Which Aveiro sweet is made from egg yolks and sugar, often wrapped in wafer-thin shells, and it's called ovos moles. It's a classic convent sweet tradition. Portugal has many deserts built around egg yolks. On São Miguel, as in Azores, which village is famous for geothermal cooking of stew in the ground. And it's very typical name. Like, if you play Minecraft, you know that in what you would cook a stew in Minecraft. You don't cook stew in Minecraft, but in what it's called furnas. Furnas. Restaurants cook cocido using underground heat from volcanic activity, tourist-friendly and genuinely real. That's nice. The original secret recipe custard tarts in Belém are sold by which shop? Which shop sells secret recipe custard tarts in Belém? We talked about them. And the shop name is Pastéis de Belém. Many places sell pastéis de nata, but this shop is the famous original brand tied to Belém. Which Lisbon neighborhood is most associated with classic fado houses and old alleys? Which Lisbon neighborhood is most associated with classic fado houses and old alleys? And it's called Alfama. It's the postcard old quarter where traditional fado venues cluster. What is Porto's historic riverside district? What is Porto's historic riverside district? Big nightlife plus UNESCO core called. It's called Ribeira. It's the tight, colorful waterfront area facing the Douro, one of Porto's defining scenes. What is the name of Portugal's top men's football league? Top men's football league. It's called Primeira Liga. It's the country's main domestic competition. Benfica, Porto, Sporting are the usual headline clubs. Which cape in Portugal is famously described as the end of the world wipe spot on the far southwest coast? Which cape in Portugal, end of the world? And it's Cabo de São Vicente. It's Cabo de São Vicente. Dramatic cliffs, lighthouse and Atlantic winds, often marketed as one of Europe's extreme southwestern points. The term Lusophone ultimately comes from what Roman era name for the region? The term Lusophone, Lusitania. Luso is cultural shorthand for Portuguese language world, rooted in the Roman provincial name. And the last question, which former Portuguese territory in India is famous for Indo-Portuguese culture, architecture and cuisine? Which former Portuguese territory in India is famous for Indo-Portuguese culture, architecture and cuisine? And it's Goa. Portuguese rule left lasting cultural blends, Catholic heritage, Portuguese influenced foods, and colonial era buildings. So thank you all for watching. If you liked the video, if you enjoyed that, let me know down in the comments that I should make more quizzes like that in the future. Hopefully I could make some screen behind me where you could see the things. I was thinking about how to do it, but never figured it out. But when I have studio, I will put something like some screen behind me. That would be perfect. But that will take time. Anyway, thank you all for watching. especially I want to thank all members for supporting this channel with their hard-earned money. And I'm going to see you in the next one. Good night.